Number 9. The Cannonball Loop. This is a certified disaster of a ride that lives in infamy for all sorts of nefarious reasons. To be clear, this water slide is not in the world anymore, but it was active for a month after being fully constructed. And during that month, many people got hurt, as this water slide was basically proven to be quite deadly to riders. Want to know what's worse? The people who made it didn't seem to care about customer safety. Investigators can prove it too. This water slide was made in 1985 at Action Park of Vernon Township. Action Park actually had a very dark history of abusing their customers via their rides and slides. There had been deaths at the park, 6 recorded, with many other people being seriously injured. But with the Cannonball Loop, it was taken to a whole new level. The problem with the water slide was the loop itself. Loops in water slides are dangerous if not done properly, for if you don't build up enough speed, you're not going to make it through the loop, which is why many water slides that have loops have an angled loop to ensure that momentum is carried throughout. The Cannonball Loop didn't have that, it had a full 90-degree vertical loop, so even with the long build-up, it was a guarantee that people would get hurt. That happened a lot, especially during testing. But did Action Park care? Nope. Reports even came out that they bribed their own park workers with $100 to ride it. The few that did wouldn't go on it again. What's worse, the actual customers who went on the ride sometimes got stuck at the top of the loop, and an escape hatch had to be put in to ensure they could get out safely. And those were the lucky ones, as others got injured riding the ride, including almost being knocked unconscious after falling back onto the slide when the loop couldn't carry them fully around. As that wasn't bad enough, the construction of the water slide made it so that sand could pool at the bottom of the slide, so anyone who went down it would get scratched by the sand, and the slide would have to be closed down for cleaning. As noted, it did get shut down after a month, but that was a month filled with dangers and injuries, and the park was even given a worse reputation after that. It's not hard to see why. Number 8. Six Flags New Orleans. You might think that Amusement Park Disasters refers solely to rides hurting people, but that's not exactly true, because sometimes the parks themselves are victims of the tragedy. Six Flags New Orleans, for example, is a terrible reminder of what happened to the city it's in and how things can go from happy to tragic in a matter of days. So what happened to this particular Six Flags? Hurricane Katrina. This devastating hurricane damaged a lot of things and nearly took part of New Orleans off the map. Yet a lot of it survived, but not exactly intact. Six Flags New Orleans is proof of that, as it's been in a decrepit state for years now. The park was badly damaged by the winds and waters of the hurricane. Many rides were broken, the buildings that remained standing were waterlogged, and all of the electronics were shorted out. Add to that, a lot of people decided to decorate the park with various graffiti and other markings, adding an even more surreal look to the park. Those who go there now will swear that they hear unnatural noises within it, which, given the circumstances, is technically not the worst thing to happen to the park. So, given that the park was turned into a disaster area by Katrina, why is it still around today? That would be because it would take over $1 million to demolish it, and despite its poor state, the city is able to lease the land to certain companies for filming and thus still make money off of it. A small beacon of joy in an otherwise disastrous event. Number 7. Tidal Twister. In June 2019 at SeaWorld, a ride known as the Tidal Twister had a major accident. The ride had just been implemented when it was shut down suddenly, just 2 weeks after launch. Though it wasn't stated specifically what the problem was, SeaWorld San Diego did explain that it was an operational issue and they had to enforce that no one had been hurt on the ride. Tidal Twister experienced an operational issue for which we are working with the manufacturer to resolve so that we can get the ride back up and running as soon as possible. No one was injured. The safety of our guests and team members is our top priority. The procedure via shutdown was to not only fix the issue, but also let the California Occupational Safety and Health Administration inspect it to see if it was ready for operation. While this may not seem like an overt disaster, this was one potentially deadly issue, mainly because what theme park expects a ride to fail 2 weeks in? What's more, they were lucky that they caught the defect at all before people got on. Other parks weren't so lucky. Add to that, some might have heard about it and decided to stay away from SeaWorld because if that ride was faulty, what others might be faulty too? Disasters can come in many ways. Have you ever seen anything dangerous occur at an amusement park? What happened? Did a ride get shut down? Did anyone get hurt? Tell me about it in the comments below. But first, remember to subscribe to The Biggest if you haven't already. There are more awesome videos just like this one coming out all the time. Number 6. Pripyat Amusement Park. Here we have an amusement park shut down by one of the most legendary disasters in human history, Chernobyl. Pripyat itself was once a thriving city in the Soviet Union. At its peak in 1986, the Ukrainian city had over 50,000 people living in it. Due to its great living conditions and population, the Soviet Union felt they deserved a reward, an amusement park. One was built and was going to open on May 1st of 1986. But just a few days before, in the nearby Chernobyl nuclear plant, one of the reactors went into meltdown. This caused nuclear radiation to be spread for miles around, including to the Pripyat amusement park. Thus, no one could go there and enjoy what had been built. The radiation from the meltdown lingered for a very long time, and it actually infused itself within the metal of the park. Now, how bad the radiation is in the park today is up for debate, but it can be extremely deadly. What's worse, not only has nature claimed the park, there are packs of wild dogs living in it, another reason that many stay away. One must wonder how happy the people of Pripyat and others nearby would have been had the disaster never happened and they would have been able to enjoy the place that was built for them. Number 5. Streamer Slide. When it comes to water slides with inner tube requirements, the truly dangerous water slides are ones that cause those tubes to flip with you in it, getting you hurt in the process. A prime example was in the Calypso Water Park, located in Ottawa, Canada. There was a water slide known simply as the Streamer Slide. This slide would often cause the tubes to flip, injuring many. In fact, so many were injured that 20 different lawsuits were brought against the park. Although some were dropped when the trial came around, the park was found guilty in regards to 6 of them. One of the worst injuries by far was when a woman broke 2 vertebrae in her neck. Here's something that will truly shock you though. After these injuries happened, the park didn't report them. They continued on with business as usual as if no one had gotten hurt. That's truly horrifying. Eventually, the ride was shut down, and many are likely very happy about that. Number 4. Lake Shawnee Amusement Park. You all have likely heard stories of what happens on sites put upon Native American burial grounds, right? Lake Shawnee Amusement Park was on land that was actually the site of a brutal murder, a massacre even. According to records, it was a land dispute between 2 families that led to many deaths. This was later verified after rumors started to pop up after what was happening at the park itself. History wasn't remembered when the land was bought in the 1920s and eventually turned into the Lake Shawnee Amusement Park. Claims of the ground being haunted soon spread after the park was tied to many unusual and somewhat random deaths. The park opened and closed a few times over the years before finally being shut down. The grounds themselves apparently had remains dating back before European settlers arrived in the area. Though the park is closed as an amusement site, it is occasionally opened for paranormal tours. Number 3. The Veru. Part of the fun of going on a water slide is seeing the way it's designed. As it's a park, it's meant to incite feelings of awe and wonder of what it will be like to go on said slide or water ride. But in the desire to be cool, it can have some bad side effects, including danger of death. Case in point, the Veru, a slide that was actually taller than the Statue of Liberty. On one hand, you can imagine the thrill of going up that high and seeing the world look so small beneath you, and then the rush of getting to the bottom and laughing about how quickly you went from top to bottom. But if there's any issue at all with the ride, it could claim a life, and that's exactly what it did. In 2016, a young boy rode the ride and died because of it, in quite a grisly manner in fact. Due to that, the slide was shut down permanently. It's not hard to see how many would classify this as a disaster, not just because of the loss of life, but a waste of effort in trying to make a ride that tall only for it to be closed. Number 2. Joyland. Joyland was a park that was built in almost the literal middle of America, Wichita, Kansas. The park itself was built in 1949 and enjoyed much success. However, as time went on, Joyland didn't upgrade their rides with new safety measures and other things, and it cost them big time. A young girl was riding the Ferris wheel at Joyland when she fell through the restraint bar and fell to the ground. She was a couple dozen feet up when she did. Though she lived, it raised major concerns for the park and the well-being of the customers. Eventually, the park closed in 2004, and it's a reminder of why parks need to do all they can to ensure the safety of their customers. Number 1. The Catapult. When it comes to certain rides like the Catapult, you are likely surprised that there haven't been more incidents with them, given that the whole ride is them being held by 2 cables and then flung into the air back and forth. Sure enough, one near disaster caused a Catapult ride to shut down in Wisconsin Dells, specifically at the Mount Olympus Water and Theme Park. This incident is not only famous, it's a viral video, because the video in question, taken from someone in the crowd, showed during the pre-launch preparations something going very wrong. In this case, a mother and son were just about to ride the ride when one of the cables that was about to launch them into the air snapped. Neither the mother nor the son was hurt, but the danger was still there. If it had been a few seconds later, there is no telling what would have happened to them. Thus, the theme park shut down the ride for good, though others are still around, tempting fate, as it were. Thanks for watching. What did you think of these disasters that happened at amusement parks, both in terms of rides hurting people and the parks themselves being a danger? Can you believe that so many amusement parks had such bad things happen to them? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time right here on The Biggest.